Some experience could be valuable, but I don't think it's necessary. Like if a new grad can work in the ER or in med surg, why can't a new grad work in aesthetics? Like I've seen you guys have states, we have provinces. So let's say you want to work in Toronto, then you're gonna have to go through the CNO, that would be the Ontario College of Nurses, and then you're gonna show them proof that you've got your okay from the NNAS. They're gonna say okay.
Nice. So what advice would you give for nurses who want to get into aesthetics? What advice would you give them?
What advice would I give them? It's not necessary for you to do courses. Like, I know the courses can be a little bit expensive. It's not necessary, but it's because aesthetics is so competitive and they're always prioritizing people who have experience. I would say the easiest way for you to get that experience would be to get.
Welcome in. This is your Wakanda RN. I have a special guest with us today. We have Kieara. How are you, Kieara?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm very excited to have you on today's podcast. And so tell the people that are listening a little bit about yourself. What made you get into nursing and what do you currently do now?
Well, hi, everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I love what you're doing in the nursing space, so I was super happy to hop on. My name is Kieara. I am a nurse. I'm from Montreal, Canada. I know a lot of people probably don't know about Montreal, but I'm from Montreal. I'm from Montreal. I've been a nurse for 6 years. Prior to that, I was actually a CNA. You guys call it CNA in the States. So I was a CNA for 2 years. So I've basically been in healthcare for 8 years. Actually, I did pharmacy prior to that. So 10 years, actually, I've been in healthcare. So it's been a while. Currently, I am doing aesthetics. I'm like an aesthetic nurse. So I'm a cosmetic injector here in Montreal. Most of my experience consists of long-term care, but I did do med surg for a while as well. And I did some travel, like a lot of travel nursing. I still do travel nursing on the side, and I float. So I've kind of worked on like all types of units, like most units, except for like ICU and the ones that like LPNs can't work on.
Okay. So nice. So what made you want to become a travel nurse?
What made me want to become a travel nurse? I think I just get bored really easily.
Okay.
I get
That's
bored
fine.
quite
Yeah.
easily. I kind of just accidentally fell into it. I went to Vancouver to visit my friend who's actually an RN from Montreal, and she put me in contact with her agency. They put me on my first travel contract, so I tested it out over there. I was doing local agency before, but that was my first like real travel contract, and I really liked my experience, and I just kind of continued from there.
Okay. So what did you specialize in when you did travel?
So I think like 50% of the time I did long-term care, and then the other 50 I did like hospital. But usually when you like, at least for me, when I would travel nurse in hospitals, it was float. So I did like ortho trauma, I did ER, I did neuro rehab, like I was all over. So I got to do a little bit of everything.
Okay. So let me ask you on a long-term care aspect. So in your experience, what was the nurse to patient ratio in terms of the long-term care facilities that you worked in?
I would say about like 30 residents, roughly.
Okay.
Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, but on average about 30 residents.
Do you feel like that's a lot? You feel like that's a little? You feel like that was too much? Like, how do you feel about that?
I feel like it varies like from facility to facility because it depends on what you have to do for those residents, right? There may be like one place that you travel to where it's very demanding and you have to do a lot for like most of the patients. And then there's like places where, they kind of just get the regular Tylenol, and then you might just have like a few wounds here and there. So it really depends on the facility that you're working at.
I got you. So like in the States here, we have, like Nurse Practice Act. I'm assuming that in Canada, there's a similar aspect, like there's some type of practice act for you guys to follow through.
Yeah.
Yes. So what is y'all's called? Is it basically the same
I think
or?
it's called Nurse Practice Act too.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
I
Okay.
think that's what it's called.
I kind of just want to do like a little compare and contrast because I know there's some listeners who are going to be curious about some of these things as well. So let's just say somebody, maybe they're interested, maybe they're listening right now and they're thinking about, you know what, I do want to travel. I want to get out the States
Mhm.
and they want to go to Canada. So what is the process like? How would someone be able to do that?
Okay, so firstly, I think the first thing we have to do is kind of compare education systems because our education
Mm,
systems are very different. So in the States, on average for LPNs, because a lot of LPNs ask me if they can travel to Canada. So on average, in the States, LPNs will go to school for 1 year, and then your ADNRNs will go to school, or ASNRNs will go to school for 2 years, and then you've got your BSNs. For us, we don't have ADNRNs. We only have LPNs
mm,
and BSNs. So us LPNs, we go to school for 2 years. That's excluding prerequisites. So you do your prerequisites first, you do your
mhm.
full 2 year program, and then the other option is BSN. So if you want to travel into Canada, you're gonna have to be an RN. It's not likely that you're gonna be able to work in Canada as an LPN because of the schooling difference. If you're an RN, like an ADN RN, I think it depends
Mhm.
on like your experience and where you've worked, but for the most part, it's gonna be, sorry, the train's passing. It's gonna be
Oh
BSN.
no, you're fine.
So if you're a BSN RN, the first step would be getting your education equivalents. So that would be done through the NNAS. I think it's like the nursing. I forgot the what the what, what is it? The National Nursing Accreditation Society or something like that. So you
Okay,
would go through
okay.
the NNAS, and they're the ones that are going to evaluate your education to see whether or not it's equivalent to a nurse in Canada. Once they give you the okay, then you would choose the body that you want to register with. So you guys have states, we have provinces. So let's say you want to work in Toronto, then you're going to have to go through the CNO, that would be the Ontario College of Nurses, and then you're going to show them proof that you've got your okay from the NNAS. They're going to say, okay, cool. If you've written the NCLEX already, which you have written the NCLEX, you won't have to rewrite it again. So it's just going to be just getting um your paperwork from your
Mhm.
school, getting your paperwork from like the board of nursing saying that you've never been suspended or anything like that. And then once that's done, you get your license. And then after that, the immigration part, there's three
Mhm.
steps. So the immigration part would be your TN visa, which is the visa that most travel nurses from Canada and the US use. And the TN visa is quite easy because you just have to drive to the border, show them that you're an RN, show them that you have a
Mhm.
job offer. So if you apply to jobs and you get a job offer, they write you a letter, show them your job offer, and then you can come in. And I think your visa lasts for 3 years, 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Okay, so a lot of detailed
A
information there
lot
for
of
sure.
details. Yeah.
So if you need to replay this back,
Yeah.
you're more than welcome to, because that is quite a bit.
It's
And
so.
I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, I'm a ADN myself,
Mhm.
and so yeah, so it seems as though that because I'm not a BSN, then I may have a little bit of a transition myself in terms of trying to figure that out in my right spot and everything. But
Yeah.
it sounds like it's based upon like your experience and things like that. So,
Yeah, especially
um,
after COVID, I feel like they opened up a little bit more to ADN. So if you have like a
mhm.
certain amount of experience or experience in like a certain specialty, let's say like ER or ICU, things like that, you might be able to get in a little easier.
Oh, okay, okay. So that is pretty cool. That is definitely pretty cool. So let me ask you. So healthcare. So, here in the United States, we don't have universal healthcare. It's more the private insurance, or, it's company insured. You guys have the universal healthcare model. I
Mhm.
don't, I don't know if you're familiar how US and how we do
A
things
little
over
bit.
here. A little bit, a little bit. So let me ask you. So if you have noticed insurance, how does the insurance process work in terms of patients getting things paid for or waiting for surgeries or things like that? Kind of just walk us through a little bit of how healthcare works over there.
Yeah, so for most things, you can get pretty much for everything, you can get it done publicly. The issue is wait times when it comes
Mhm.
to public. So if you're like working for the government or you have a job that provides you insurance, then there's some certain
Mhm.
things that you can get done faster because you can go to like a private facility with your insurance and get it done there, and then you'll get reimbursed by your insurance company. So for example, if you want to do like, let's say you have some blood tests that you want to do, that you want to get done, If you want to do it publicly, you might have to wait a few months to get those blood tests done. But if you
Oh
want
wow.
to get it done faster, then you can go private. If you have insurance, they do it on the
Mhm.
spot. Like I worked at a private blood lab, so like they would come with their insurance, would do their bloods, and they could pretty much get it done right away. Um, I think that's like really where the difference is, because you can literally do
Mhm.
everything publicly. It's really just the wait. You're gonna have to wait longer if you don't have private insurance.
Why are those wait times so long? Why is that?
Why are those wait times so long?
Yes.
Maybe shortages. Yeah, probably shortages, I would say.
Shortages.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to ask that too. Do you guys in Canada have a nursing shortage, or I like to call a healthcare shortage, in Canada? 'Cause I know we do here in the US. So I'm guessing you guys do as well.
Yeah, I think there's a shortage, like a shortage everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. So it's funny because I have these back and forths with people who tell me that there's no shortage, and so I'm sure somebody listening to this right now can't wait to chime in the comments on the no shortage. So,
Hmm.
guys, if you're listening to this, there's a shortage in other countries as well, not just the
There is.
U.S.
There is.
So you're hearing it. You're definitely hearing it.
Yeah.
So, what made you want to choose aesthetics? Why aesthetics?
Well, my mom's actually an esthetician. So
Oh, nice.
she's
Okay.
been an esthetician and a hairdresser for 40 years. So I grew up in that space, in the
Okay.
salon. I've been playing with my little dolls, doing their makeup, doing their stuff since I was a kid. Initially, actually, before nursing was my plan B. Cosmetology was actually my plan A.
Oh,
But
okay.
having an African dad, he's like, no, nursing's first, cosmetology's second. So, I mean, I listened to them, and to be honest, I don't regret it at all. I think nursing was like the best decision that I ever made in my life. I wouldn't take it back. But cosmetology was always something that I was interested in. So, the fact that I could take nursing and mesh it in with cosmetology, it was just
Yes.
the perfect match for me.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give for nurses who want to get into aesthetics? What advice would you give them?
Um, what advice would I give them? It's not necessary for you to do courses. Like, I know the courses can be a little bit expensive. It's not necessary, but it's
Hmm.
because aesthetics is so competitive and they're always prioritizing people who have experience. I would say the easiest way for you to get that experience would be to get a certificate. So I think even though it's not necessary, I do recommend it. One, it gives you like just foundational like knowledge. I think it's a good thing to go into the space kind of understanding certain things already.
Hmm.
Um, and also like it kind of shows them that like you're serious, because they know a lot of people kind of just want to get into aesthetics for the soft nurse life, but showing that you're willing to invest kind of makes you seem a little bit more like serious. So I would say
Hmm.
invest in the certificate. Like I know it's expensive, but invest in it. I know in the States you guys have palette resources. They have tons of like online workshops, in-person
Hmm.
workshops, cadaver trainings, all types of, and they're like super cheap, because I wanted to do it through Palette, but they're like, no, you're from Canada, so no. But they had like some online certificates for like $50, $60. So if you're looking into aesthetics and you don't have like thousands to spend on like a Botox and filler training, but you still want to do some
Hmm.
stuff, there's like a bunch of stuff that you can do. Maybe you can get a few certificates through Palette and maybe spend a 150, $200. Yeah.
So, if what would you say if a new grad says like I want to go, that's where I want to go? Would you
Mhm.
recommend them to get experience first, or just to get that extra training, or what do you think about that?
I mean, I think like getting some experience could be valuable, but I don't think it's necessary. Like if a new grad can work in the ER or in med surge,
Hmm.
why can't a new
Hmm.
grad work in aesthetics? Like
Hmm.
I've seen
Hmm.
that conversation where like they're like new grads shouldn't work in aesthetics, and it's like, well, why can they work in ER then? Why can
Yeah.
they work in ER and they can't work in aesthetics? It doesn't make sense.
Yes. It
So
doesn't make sense. I had a post a while back, towards the end of 2024, where I had stitched somebody, and basically they were saying how new grads should not go into aesthetics, and I said they should go wherever they want to go.
wherever they want to
It's
go.
wherever they want to
You're a
go. I
nurse.
mean,
You went to school.
yes.
You're a
Y-
nurse.
Yes, yes, and I think because a lot of people have the old mindset of you need to spend a year in med surge before you go anywhere else, and I'm like that's outdated. I said maybe that was true for a time, but in today's age, today's economy, listen, if wherever you want to go, especially if they are going to train you and they're gonna take you underneath their wing, I mean, why not? Why not? You
You're way
know?
more
So
likely to harm someone in like ER or like ICU than you are in both. Like, okay, yeah, you might botch someone's Botox in 3 months, it'll fade away. But it's like in ER, like you give someone the wrong IV or something, like the consequences I feel like in ER or like in the hospital are just way more severe, I guess, than
mhm,
aesthetics. Not saying that things can't happen in aesthetics, but what's likely to happen in aesthetics versus comparing it to the hospital, two
mhm.
completely different things. I'd rather botch
That's
someone's Botox than like give someone the wrong med and kill them. You know,
That's what I thought too.
right?
Yeah, I
So
mean, I'm of the same exact mindset. So if you're listening and you have been discouraged before, don't be discouraged. Go where you want to go.
go where you want.
Please.
Yeah,
Go where you want to go, please, for
please.
sure. S- So, so let me ask you, have you ever had anybody kind of question, why did you choose being a LPN versus just going and get your RN? Have you ever had that dialogue or
I
discussion with
feel
anybody?
like I get that question. I've probably gotten that question 100,000 times.
Really?
Well,
Really?
I'm exaggerating, but a lot. Like I get that
So,
question a lot
what's your response to
because I felt like it. I felt like
that?
it. I mean, if I'm being completely real, at the time I
Mhm,
didn't have the prerequisites for the RN. When I wanted to go into nursing, I didn't have the prerequisites, and if I was to get the prerequisites, it was going to take me 6 months to get those prereqs,
mhm,
and then by that time, applications would have been closed, which would have meant that I would have to wait. And so I'm like, I'm not going to wait a year and a half to potentially get into an RN program when I could be almost
mhm.
done my LPN by then. I'd rather just do my LPN. And if I choose to go back for my RN, there's the option to bridge afterwards. So that's like the main reason. If I had all the prereqs, I
Mhm,
probably would have done the RN first, but I had some personal goals that I wanted to get to ASAP. And also
mhm.
and like I said, I just didn't have the prereqs and I didn't feel like it was worth waiting for the potential because nursing programs are so they're so competitive. It's not guaranteed that you're gonna get into it. So I
Right.
applied to the LPN and I got in. So I just went with that. It was guaranteed. It was there. It was in front of me on a silver platter. So I
Mhm.
took it.
Yeah, I can't blame you at all because when I became I decided to go the LPN route, and literally for me it was because I failed the entrance exam for RN school
Mm,
in terms of the school that I wanted to go to,
mhm.
and so I actually had people that were behind me, encouraging me, telling me that, like my parents, they were telling me that maybe you should try the LPN route, and I thought about it. I was like, I guess I can,
Mhm.
and I ended up applying for the LPN program um, in near my hometown, and got in, and I still don't regret that decision at all because the experiences I gained were so valuable working as an LPN,
Yeah.
and I was making decent money as a young adult. So
Right?
you can't bypass that. So
Mm.
if you're listening, hey, you're valuable as an LPN. Don't let anybody discourage you.
Don't let
You're
any
very valuable.
and
And
also
there's
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say in Canada, like the since like if I was I mean in the States because you guys have ADN RN, so you guys have
Mhm,
three options. There's like a lot more options for you guys. For us, like BSN programs, like you probably already know, like BSN programs are so hard to get into.
mhm,
They're so hard
mhm.
to get into. So LPN is
Yeah.
what I chose. And like
Yes.
you said,
Yes.
like if don't let anybody discourage you from going the LPN route if you know that's what's right for you. As
Yes.
long as you're happy
Yes.
with your decision, that's all that matters.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So I do want to kind of shift gears a little bit and kind of ask a question. So, you know, have you ever experienced any type of discrimination or any type of prejudice, whether being, a woman in your field or whether being, a black person or a person of color within your field, working in Canada? Have you had that experience, or has everything been kind of kumbaya, everything's cool?
Hey, you. Yes, you. You've made it this far, so go ahead and give a like or a follow. I appreciate it.
I've had some like funny remarks about like
Okay.
being like kind of a black nurse, but I would say that most of that discrimination came from like very old people, like in long-term care. So they come from such a different time that
Hmm.
I don't even care to be offended because you're
I see.
103 years old. Like
Uh,
times have changed. Like
yeah.
I get it. I get
Hmm.
it. But I mean, I've had like nurse bullying experiences, but like
Okay.
discrimination
Hmm.
particularly, I can't really think of much other than like my long-term care residents, which I don't really count them. So
Wow. So I mean, I think that's pretty cool to hear because, in the States, your experience may differ depending on where you're located.
mm,
And so, for sure, I mean, I know I have in my tenure working as a nurse, just, I've had micro and then I've had, major ones too. I've had some from older residents or older patients who
mhm.
blatantly would just, say the N word or, refer to you as, less than because of who you are.
Yeah.
Or I've had managers or physicians just take one look at me and they assume like I am a CNA, like I have my name badge on, and they just look at me and they assume that I'm less than just because I'm a black male. And I've had those type of experience here in the United States, and of course, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I've had others as well. And so it just made me wonder, it made me think like, I wonder what it's like in another country. Is that something that's more of a rarity, or is that something that's just globally, what I'm saying?
Um,
So because
I've had someone assume that I was a CNA as well. And I had like a resident, like I had one resident spit on me. Like he was like N-word and then he
yeah,
spat on me. But
yeah.
like I said, these people are so old and they have dementia as well. So like I don't really get offended too much. But
Hey, I got you.
yeah, I think just like having people assume that I was a CNA is probably it's the worst that I've
The
gotten.
worst,
Yeah.
man. Man, maybe I should have been in Canada. Um, Oh man, because that sounds a lot better than, a lot of experiences that, people of color have to deal with in the States, which I'm sure you probably hear or see
Yeah.
things on TV or things on social media. And I mean it's a real thing that we battle with here.
I'm sure.
And
And maybe too, I think maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just the areas that I've worked in because there are some places
uh,
that are a little bit more redneck than others.
yeah.
I happen to like Montreal is extremely multicultural, like
Oh, I
very
see.
multicultural. So, I think it's maybe just the places that I've worked at. If I were to go in other areas, maybe my experience would have been different. I think it's just where I've been working.
It doesn't help that I live in the South. Like I practice nursing in the southern of Oklahoma, the South of Oklahoma and Texas my whole life. And
Oh, yeah,
so, and so I don't think I think that's probably contribute to a lot of it
maybe.
because there's still people who want things to go back the way they used to. There's still people who wish things were still segregated and they still wish that white supremacy still reign. And, there's still people who have those beliefs and they're not just old. They're younger or they're middle aged and they still hold on to these belief systems
They're
and they
passed
they
down.
yeah, they are passed down and they refuse to acknowledge that the world is changing rapidly and they just refuse to accept it. But yes, it is passed down. And so interesting, interesting. I was pretty curious on that, at least getting your perspective. And maybe like just what you said, maybe it's just because of where you have worked and
Yeah,
you live in a multicultural area, because that helps a lot. That
it
helps
does.
tremendously.
It,
So let me ask you. We talked about LPN and BSN, ADN. Do you have any plans on going back? Are you feeling pretty good about life? Where do you feel education wise?
I actually got accepted into my LPN to BSN bridge. I was supposed to start it in the fall, and
Uh,
I couldn't find an apartment in time because it was in a completely different city. So I pushed it, and technically I'm supposed to be starting in May, but I don't think I'm going to be going.
oh, really? Really? Okay. Okay. Is there a particular reason, or what do what's your reasoning with that?
I think the only reason why I wanted to do my BSN, if I'm being completely honest, was
Yeah.
so that I could travel nurse in the US. Because I could work in the US
Ah.
LPN, but then I would have to get sponsored, which is not an issue. But I don't want to be tied down to a facility I'm not familiar with
Oh, yes.
2, 3 years. So I figured I would just go get my RN so that I could do, my quick in and
Mm-hmm.
outs. That was the only reason why I wanted to get my BSN. Because over here, I think in the States, the pay gap is bigger between RN and LPN. Over here, the pay gap is not big enough for me to like care.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't, so yeah.
Wow.
So I just gave up on it. I just gave up
Wow.
on it. Yeah,
Okay.
if I'm being
Yeah.
honest.
Okay. Well, I can't blame you if that's your reasoning, man. I can't blame you at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So nice, nice. So have you worked with different travel agencies, different travel companies? Have you been pretty much with one, or
No, with
tell us
different.
a little bit about that? Okay.
I've
Okay.
worked with different agencies here.
Okay. So what has your experience been like with the different travel agencies? Has communication been pretty clear? Has, things been good? Like how's your experience been working with different travel agencies?
I would say most of my experiences have been good. I mean, some are better than others, of course, but
Uh,
generally speaking, I would say I haven't really had, trying to think, I haven't really had that bad of an experience, to be honest.
really?
I haven't had
So,
a horrible experience with the agency itself. No.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Been-
Nice, nice. Because some people in the States, they'll sign on for a particular amount of money, and then the check comes, and they try to pull like, well, we decided that okay, your real worth is this, so it gets kind of dicey with some travel agencies. Yeah, like I've talked to some travel nurses, and they've had difficulties working with different travel agencies. And so yeah, or they'll find out that the middleman, the person that's supposed to be doing that communication between you and that facility, ends up taking a lot more of the cut than what they were originally supposed to. So some people have had difficulties dealing with that. So so if you've had no problems or little problems, that is great. It's just some
in
people have
this,
had different experiences.
yeah, but I feel like in the States, there's more room for like the snakes. I don't know. Over here, I
Yeah.
feel like we're very, like, things just are the way they are. So it's like
Hmm.
your experience with most agencies is going to be the same. Your salary with most agencies is going to be roughly the same. It's kind of just the same with most agencies, where I feel like in the States, it's like the gap is huge. Like you might find one
Uh,
agency that wants to pay you pennies, and then you got an agency that's gonna pay you 150 an hour. You're not gonna find that here. You're not gonna get that.
oh,
Period.
wow.
Anywhere at any agency, nobody's paying you 100 and nothing an hour.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think for us, like on average for LPNs, 50 to 65. 65 is like the higher end, and then for
Uh,
RN, maybe like starting from like 70 to like maybe 85-ish, 90 maybe.
I, I would need to see that 85-90. I would need to see that. Me
Yeah.
personally.
I mean,
It
that
would
makes
it
sense
would
for
need
RN, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like if I were to do that, it has to be worth my time, energy, and effort. Like especially if you have duplicating expenses, like if you do, like I would need to see that high end. Especially like I need a good stipend, I need a good hourly rate. I would need to see what the overtime pay is, like,
Usually your overtime is time and a half or double. It depends on your agency.
oh really?
Sometimes it's double, sometimes it's time and a half. But usually they're
Oh,
very good with accommodation, with flight, with stipend. Like I've never had an issue. They've taken care of me. If I'm being completely honest, like they've
wow.
taken good care of me. I've stayed in
Wow.
some really nice hotels. Like,
Really?
hmm yeah.
Okay. So you do sound taken care of.
I know.
You
I
do sound
can't
really taken
lie.
care
I
of.
can't lie. I've been taken care of, to be honest. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So besides, nursing content, do you do any other forms of content?
I do. So during my content creation journey, I've been a content creator for 10 years. I started this thing called UGC. It's user generated content where you basically create like mini commercials for brands that they post on their own websites or social media. So I have another social media page, well, TikTok page, and also Instagram. My Instagram's new, where I kind of teach people about UGC and how to get into it. It's perfect for like new content creators who don't have a lot of followers, because you don't need followers to do UGC. So yeah, so I have my nursing page, and then I do beauty content and then content creation tips, I guess.
Which is your favorite? Which one do you like doing more?
I like doing beauty, but it's just not working out for me. It's not
Okay.
working out for me.
It's not working.
It's
Oh man.
not. It's not. People
Really?
really love my nursing content, which I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the support
Uh,
regardless, but my nursing content does very well. My UG, like my content tips do very well, but my beauty
uh,
content just doesn't do that well. So
really?
it
Okay.
is what it
Well,
is.
hopefully that'll turn around for you, especially if you
Hopefully.
enjoy it.
Fingers crossed.
Your
I
fingers are
enjoy it
crossed.
all. I enjoy content creation just as a whole, so it doesn't really matter.
Nice, nice. Well, Kiera, where can people find you? If they're looking for you, where can they find you?
Oh my God. So many things. I mean, you could follow me on my nursing page. It's Kieara, KIEARA.LPN. And then you can find me at Kieara Selena on TikTok. So KIEARA.Selena, CELINA.
All right. Nice, nice. All right. Well, this has been great. I appreciate you being here. And yeah, people can go check her out, man. Go, if you're listening, go check out her page and you will be enlightened for sure, whether it's beauty, with beauty products or nursing content. So definitely go check Kiera out.
Thank you so
So,
much for
Kiera,
having me. I appreciate it.
yes, yes. Thank you very much, Kiera. All right. Thank you
Mhm.
guys.
Bye.
If you like any of the content, please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. If you want to continue to donate to the channel, you are more than welcome to. Your donations go a long way. Give me a follow on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Much love. Thank you.